Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at the Blue Ridge Bodyguard, and that's the guy you can see on screen right now. And I am very glad to present you my first video that will hopefully have, well, it will pretty surely have better video quality, but I also hope that the audio quality should be a little better. Nothing changed in that department. I'm still using my shitty old headset. But since my new console will be less loud, I'm guessing that the audio should be a little bit better. Anyways, as always, I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first part of the video, and in the second part of the video we're going to take a look at the perks and mutations and everything else you need to know in order to get the character right. Now, first things first, what we're going to look at here is a, well, basic vet crit gunslinger. However, the pretty much most distinctive part about this build is the weapon we're using. And what I wanted to do here is I wanted to make use of the single action revolver. The single action revolver is a very special weapon. When I first saw it being in the game, I was pretty excited because I just loved the design and it gave me some serious Fallout New Vegas vibes. But sadly it turned out to be quite garbage. The weapon, yeah, it has a lot of problems. The main problem is that, as you can see here, you're reloading every single bullet, and every single reload has a little animation to it, and ultimately that means that you're spending a lot of time reloading. The standard ammo capacity of this thing is 6 shots. Nothing out of the ordinary here when we're talking about a revolver. Yeah, and to fully reload that, I never really counted, but I guess you should expect something like maybe 2 seconds per bullet. Maybe not completely, but something among those lines. And yeah, that's pretty tedious. Now, your obvious thoughts would be, hey, okay, if this weapon has such a minor drawback compared to, let's say, a Western revolver or a 44 revolver, it probably has more base damage or anything really, but sadly, the weapon is just plain and simply worse than pretty much every single other pistol. I mean, I'm sure there's worse ones if you're maybe using a fairly generic pipe pistol, but yeah, the revolver isn't a particularly good weapon, but you can make work with it, and it's not as bad as you can say you can't really use it anyways. The version I'm using here is a quad version with limp damage and faster VATS crits. Now, limp damage, a little bit of a waste here. Ideally, I would have liked something like explosive or maybe even VATS hit chance. That would have been nice. But ultimately, or better VATS crits, that would be very nice as well. However, the important parts here are quad effect, which simply makes the weapon more viable because the goal was to end most encounters before we run out of bullets and reload in between fights, which works pretty well. You also don't have to finish your reload animation every time, so for example, if you're running the White Spring course, what you will do is you will kill 2 or 3 ghouls, and simply as soon as you're not seeing an enemy, you start to reload in the time between fighting. You may not reload fully, but this means that without a big problem, yeah, the only situation where I oftentimes run out of bullets is West Tech. I mean, there's certainly other places, but this is one of the places I visit kind of often and where I noticed this. So, another thing is we will shortly see, I think I'm going to fight a Scorched Beast. Yeah, that's something where you run out of bullets and the weapon's weakness really shines, sadly. However, it's possible. I mean, we're still using a gunslinger, which isn't the best class in the game, but this was a series of bad luck here. But overall, yeah, it works. We do have ultrasight ammo, by the way, so I really just wanted to get every little bit out of this weapon that's possible here. I mean, obviously, we could go higher if we were using something that alters its damage, like Junkies or Bloodied. However, I found that, yeah, well, it's a legendary, so this will even take a bit longer. But, yeah, the important part is if it lands. That's where we maybe will see a bit of a better time. But, yeah, where is it? Alright, it's going to make its duster attack. Yeah, this can be a little bit tedious. I may not end the fight simply because I think you already see how this is going. If he decides to land anytime soon, I will just finish, but otherwise, yeah, I don't see a big point. You can see it here, when it's in range, we can do a little bit of damage. We run out of AP, but killing the Scorched in between gives us firstly a chance to refill our action points, and secondly, it keeps our adrenaline going, so nothing to see here. Well, now that I think about it, I think we don't even have adrenaline. Excuse me, it is a bit, it has been a little bit of time since I made a video. I think it should be about 2 weeks or something. I'm really a little bit out of the whole equation here, but yeah, it just took so long to get the new console, and after all my hyping up the content, I just didn't want to do another video here. What we can do here is showing off another weapon I do carry, which is something I often say in my videos. Just because you want to create a build around a certain weapon doesn't mean you fully have to dedicate to that weapon. It's not a problem having a backup weapon, and on this occasion here we're using a very similar weapon, but it's just better. It's a Western Revolver with better VATS crits and VATS crits feeling faster. And yeah, this weapon is better in every single way. Maybe it has a little bit less range, I'm not sure from the top of my head, but overall, yeah, it's just the superior version. It would perform a little bit better if I had a reflex sight, meaning it would consume less AP and would have a bit better accuracy. However, yeah, I just, for pure style, I decided not to do that. I just wanted to go for this here plain look. I think the reflex sight looks a little bit ridiculous in the Western Revolver, and might as well finish him off with our single action revolver here. Bad timing since we ran out of AP, but yeah, ultimately, I mean, it took a while. You just can't compare a gunslinger to a commando class or anything, and especially using such a weapon like this here, single action revolver. However, yeah, I do like it, and I especially like the sound effects. They really sound old-timey. Not sure if that's a good word to describe it, but I think you get what I mean. Now, I expect that we will run into a problem. The problem I'm talking about is the Assaultron that's oftentimes lurking at the Red Rocket Mega Truck stop. That guy can be a little bit of a pain. Now let's see how this performs in free aim. Obviously, we're getting most of our damage from crits, so free aim, yeah, I don't really like it, especially with gunslinger weapons and revolvers. However, well, back to the topic. Yeah, I think we could see a problem when it comes to the Assaultron, simply because we're quite squishy. We're not really made to tank damage. Our main goal is to kill stuff from mid-range while staying on the move. Now this guy here is weird, he always glitches into the fire truck here, but that shouldn't pose a major threat. And yes, the Assaultron has two problems we have to deal with. Now, once he gets a lock on us and uses his head laser, let's see if maybe, well, okay, he already detected us, but let's see, maybe we can draw him into a fight with other gutsies or something. And here you can see the second problem. Now, our build is completely meant to just use VATS damage. Now, we're getting the majority of our damage from VATS crits, and yeah, those don't work on a stealth enemy, which, as you saw here, the Assaultron can just do. And, well, there we see it. He's half down, but you really have to play a little bit with cover. There's just nothing you can do about it, actually. Now we're going to jump up on here. So Assaultrons, yeah, they're devastating enemies. Okay, well, we were lucky here. We ultimately survived it. But you see there's a little bit of tactics involved here, which wouldn't be the case if we just used a better build, to be honest. But on the other side, I'm quite proud of this build, simply because, yeah, for the weapon we're using here, it really works pretty well, gotta say. There's not a lot you can do. It works surprisingly well in a lot of daily ops. Now, obviously, some daily ops are just harder, like the robots with freezing touch, they're a pain. Or, yeah, cloaked enemies have the problem I just described with the Assaultron. But the simpler versions, like Volatile Blood Eagles, for example, yeah, those aren't a big problem. Or anything that involves bashing, because, well, that just doesn't alter the game a lot. You simply finish them off with a bash. You don't need a lot of damage. Here we have a glowing one. We sadly ran out of AP. Now, this was a little bit unlucky. We do depend quite heavily on Grim Reaper Sprint, which procs really often, so it's quite rarely we do run out of AP. We do have relatively fast AP refresh, so that helps a little. And ultimately we can just maneuver around those enemies. And here we go. So overall, what can I say about the build? It's not the fastest build and definitely not the best build, but it works nice. The gameplay is fun, actually. It feels quite like older Fallout games, where you do depend on a little bit of luck, but that has some certain charm to it. And in moments where the build shines, it's real fun. Like on this situation here, you saw that's really worked out for us. We got a nice chain where we moved from enemy to enemy, and yeah, killing loads of smaller enemies, or as I said earlier, the White Spring Golf Club and White Spring area. Yeah, they're real fun to do with this weapon. Ultimately, you can do some really cool characters optics-wise. I went for this here Blue Ridge kind of vibe, simply because, yeah, I had recently finished the collection, except for the backpack. I'm talking about the gas mask and the outfit here, and wanted to put it to good use. And I feel like, yeah, a revolver is a cool weapon for some caravan guy, but I already made the caravan guard, so I wanted to do a little bit different here. And cowboy, well, you can do a real cool cowboy here. I kind of missed the opportunity, however, on the other hand, I have something planned for a cowboy character that uses more than just revolvers, and will be one of my hybrid builds, where I'm trying to use, well, revolvers, rifles, and shotguns. However, I'm not quite sure at this point how this is going to work out, so we have to see. Now, back to the certain situation here. Super Mutants, yeah, they are one of the tougher enemies for this build. Simply because the fact that we do on occasion, or not on occasion, on average, need about 3 shots to take down these Super Mutants. That's the part that makes it problematic for us, because we often run out of AP. It's not exactly damage that's the problem. It's basically just that we can't use that so efficiently. It can go well, depending on our luck with Grim Reaper Sprint, and you could definitely play a bit more tactically, meaning that every now and then you just choose your targets at a lower level, like the level 60s. You can usually take them down in 2 shots, which makes a whole lot of difference already. But yeah, if we're facing level 100s or something, they do just take some shots, and that drains our AP. But otherwise, as you saw here, even a level 75 one goes down in 2 shots. That's simply because we do have a crit ready at every second shot. Now that I said it, doesn't really work. But that's pretty much one of the centerpieces of this build. And that means we have 23 luck and the faster vet crits effect. Now, this is something I've shown off in at least 2 videos so far, I think. I just came about the idea, or I mean, it's not like I'm inventing it or something, but there's a lot of talk about the bloody build, the bloody crit build, where if you get your luck up to 33 or 34, I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, once you reach that certain threshold, within one single shot, and with use of the critical savvy perk, you can refill your critical meter. Now, that obviously meant that you can do that just by adding your luck that high, but, well, without a bloodied build and the help of unyielding armor, I guess it's not impossible to get your luck that high, but you depend on quite a lot of consumables, if even then it's possible. But with the addition of legendary perks, meaning that you can get your base luck up to 20, should be more reachable goal. And ultimately, if you have the VETS crits filling faster tertiary effect for your weapon, you will drastically decrease the amount of luck you need in order to do that. And yeah, I tested it a little bit and it should be 23. That's what my results shown. And you can get there fairly easily. Like, one thing you can do is just 15 base base luck, adding 5 luck from legendary perks, and shielded wall suit for another 2 luck, and you're already quite there. You just need 1 more luck from 1 armor piece. The thing is, I have 3 legendary luck, not 4, so... or 5, I think it's even. So ultimately I just needed, I think it's 3 or 4 armor pieces with luck, and I'm using different under armor that gives me 1 luck extra. But there's quite a few ways to get there. That's what I'm talking about, without using consumables. So it's quite a reachable goal nowadays. And as you saw, by the way, during the video, yeah, running out of ammo is rarely a problem. Our problems lie in different scenarios. And let's see. Okay, that was a good timing, so we can get all our benefits from Gun Fu. Even though they're not that much, but 30% is 30%, I think. And yeah, it was quite easy for Deathclaw. Now, usually what I do sometimes is I do clear the outside of West Tech here, but I'm gonna spare that on this occasion simply because the Scorch Beast fight took quite a while. So yeah, ultimately we're going to end the video here in terms of our gameplay. And now I think as the sun sets down, it's about time to look at our perks and our equipment a little bit more in depth. First and foremost, our weapon here, it's a quad limb damage, VETS crit meter fills faster, single action revolver. As I told you, it's primed, makes quite a bit of a difference. I don't have it in my head exactly, but I think our base damage without the prime capacitor is somewhere around 100, so yeah, the prime receiver really adds something to the weapon. And while the Ultrasight 44 ammo isn't particularly easy to make, it's not really hard either, and ultimately the build is quite ammo efficient. You're firing relatively slow, so 2 to 3,000 Ultrasight rounds. Just for reference, we started the video with 2,050, something among those lines, Ultrasight rounds. So yeah, we burned through 200 rounds. So you can imagine, if you get a stack of 2, 3, 4,000, yeah, they last you for a while, so it's definitely a manageable amount of ammo. And also, if you are lucky with the daily ops, volatile blood eagles, as I said earlier, you can easily farm the ammo if you want to do that. Do a daily op for half an hour, and you're back to 4,000 or something. 44 rounds. So that's everything about the weapon. Yeah, one thing worth mentioning is that other than the ivory grip, which the plans for it are just dropped every now and then, they're quite common. Yeah, every other mod you see, the prime receiver you get from Scorched Earth or Scorched Beast. But yeah, the long barrel is not something you can attach or something. It's a pre-attached mod, similar to how the LMG works. So it's stated as a mod here, but it's always on the weapon and you can't even remove it or anything. So yeah, not a whole lot to the weapon in terms of modifications. And next thing here, we do have our armor. To make it simple, we do have auto stim and 4 weightless pieces. The important thing is here we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 pieces with extra luck. The rest is relatively minor. We have one agility piece. I think we have a sentinel piece somewhere. Yeah, which doesn't really add a lot because we're not utilizing it. We're always on the move, and weapon weight reduction is nice. But yeah, standard piece here is 4 luck. 3 would be enough if you're willing to just use shielded Volt Suit, but that's about it. In terms of primary effects, well, Autostim I do like simply because we're quite squishy, as I said, and it gives us a little bit of a fail-safe. However, the rest here, Weightless, is just there because, well, I happen to have a few luck pieces with Weightless, but Weightless obviously doesn't do a whole lot for our build, so there's real potential for improvement. Now, first and foremost, one thing that could be very beneficial to us is if we do have 2 pieces or that have the AP refresh effect, or at least 1 piece. So that would be nice. And for first effects, Vanguard, Bolstering, those could be nice additions. But yeah, pretty much you're free to do whatever you like. Now, if I really had the choice to put together a set here, what I would do was using 4 pieces with 2 Mutant Slayers, 2 Troubleshooters, 2 AP Refresh, 3 with Luck, 1 Autostim piece, and for the third effect, Cavaliers, maybe. Really not that important, and use shielded Volt Under Armor. So that's pretty much it. But other than that, yeah, last thing here, the Blue Ridge Carrion outfit and the Blue Ridge Gas Mask. So those are our apparel options. And we do have a backpack, which should be under apparel as well. Or is it? Been a while. Yeah, it's under apparel, I guess. Here it is. It's the grossest one, so it reduces our food weight, which we mostly use for our purified water. You can also make use of Nuka-Cola Quantums and such, but that's about it. Now onto our mutations first, sorry. There they are. We do have Bird Bones, Chameleon, Eel Eyes, Egghead, Herbivore, Marsupial, Speed Demon, and Unstable Isotope. Now, Unstable Isotope, as well as Chameleon, they are leftovers from other builds that I did, but ultimately Chameleon doesn't do anything negative to us, so it might as well just stay there, and Unstable Isotope doesn't really do anything negative to us either. So rather than taking the chance of removing random effects until those are gone, I just stuck with them, but they don't really add anything to our build. That's worth mentioning. The important ones here are Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Herbivore, Marsupial, and Speed Demon. Now, Eagle Eyes, very straightforward, extra perception and crit damage. We're using VATs and crits all the time, so that's a plain positive here. Now, you will see that we do have a lot of negative in strength, but our strength is so low it doesn't matter anyways. We're down to 1 after taking Bird Bones or Eagle Eyes, so yeah, might as well take all of them. We're not using strength for anything, really. Bird Bones gives us extra agility. The reduced fall speed is always nice to have, but not necessary. But extra agility means more action points, means more time in VATs, which we constantly use, so that's a given here. I added Egghead, but that's completely irrelevant. It's just because the negatives don't affect us all that much. We're squishy as we are, so negative to endurance, well, might as well take it. And the negative to strength, as I just explained, well, with Birdborns, Eagle Eyes, or Egghead, we're down to 1 strength anyways, so we might as well add to that. Herbivore, well, Herbivore, Carnivore, that's always kind of a preference thing, what you want to do, or if you even want to use buffs at all. The thing is, for a gunslinger, Herbivore is quite nice. Best buff, in my opinion, is the Blight Soup, pretty well known by the time. Very easy to make, you just need Blight, and I think it's, boiled water or something. And, well, it gives you extra crit damage. And with Herbivore, it's quite a bit. It's 40 or 50% extra crit damage. Quite massive, so you really see the difference. Food buffs last for half an hour, so they really are beneficial. It's quite easy to maintain them. I didn't show it off in the video simply because I don't want to do that all that much. However, I plan to do it a bit more in the future, but I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure ultimately. However, for the time, we run without any buffs. So yeah, next on the list is Marsupial here. Pretty straightforward. It's just extra jump height and carry weight, which doesn't hurt. Negative intelligence, quite bad, but that's what we have Egghead for. So overall, we're still in a net positive when it comes to intelligence. Speed Demon, arguably one of the most important perks here, mutations here, the reload speed. 20% extra reload speed on this weapon is a godsend. It's just necessary, straight up. Like, we did eliminate the problem with reload a little bit by having the quad effect. However, we're constantly reloading. So yeah, arguably there's not a lot of weapons where you have more benefit from Speed Demon than with this one. I mean, they're awesome, but yeah, it's one of the more important ones. And that's about it when it comes to mutations. So you see, it's a bit much at first, but ultimately, the core mutations here are Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Speed Demon. That's pretty much it, actually. So let's move on. Now we really get into the perks here. First and foremost, we do have 3 strength. We do have Traveling Pharmacy here. Use whatever you like. This is just carry weight perks, so gives us a little bit more utility. Now, as you've seen during the video, we're using Stimpaks to stay alive quite heavily. So yeah, might as well have Traveling Pharmacy. These can really add up, and after all, we don't have a lot of weight, so we don't have a lot of carry weight, so that helps a little. Now, there's a little something else I'm going to talk about later, like when we're getting to intelligence. But for now, 3 strength and Traveling Pharmacy, what I went for here. More importantly here, we're looking at perception. Now, we do have quite high buff for perception from Eagle Eyes, but overall, with 11 base perception, we're already in a good place. Tankkiller, one of the most important perks here. Stagger chance, nice to have, but 36% armor penetration is really important, really helped the gunslinger classes a lot when they added the gunslinger weapons to this perk. At the beginning, it was only characteristic for rifles and commando weapons. So yeah, having that extra bit of armor penetration is very nice, especially if we're getting against scorch beasts and such. Concentrated fire, semi-automatic weapons still benefit greatly from higher ranks of concentrated fire, and yeah, that's why I ultimately went for rank 3. Rank 1 would be enough for our needs, simply because 1 rank we do need to target the heads or the weak spots. That's centerpiece of every Vets build. But yeah, rank 3 here, very beneficial. After all, we don't have an endless stream of shots. We do have to reload a lot, so we might as well want to see that we're hitting very fast. So this perk makes sure that on most occasions, at least on the 3rd shot, we're going to land a hit. Awareness and glow sight, these are arguably not as important. Now, glow sight is nice to have, especially when you're fighting glowing ghouls. They can be quite tanky, so glow sight, nice to have on situation. Awareness adds not a lot. I'd rather take the Exterminator perk, which gives us extra armor penetration against Mirelurks and insects, which is mostly beneficial when you're seeing a Mirelurk queen. So awareness was just here because I'm getting into the realm of higher levels with my alt characters, so leveling up and getting more perks is not as easy. And this is something I feel like I could just tell you because I know my route I'm going to use for showcasing the gameplay. So you wouldn't have seen Exterminator in effect anyways, but that's what I ultimately would go for. Rather than awareness, I would use rank 2 of Exterminator perk to give us more armor penetration against Mirelurks. So keep that in mind. Just a little bit of a situational perk, but when you need it, you really need it. It really is a big help. When it comes to endurance, now, as you saw, we have a little bit of a debuff from our mutations here, so we don't have a lot of endurance, even though we're fairly in the middle ground from 7 endurance. But more importantly here is the perks we use. Adamantium Skeleton, quite simply, we always want to be on the move, and getting staggered and crippled can really damage you. Like, if an enemy cripples your leg, you might as well you might get into trouble, simply because what we're often doing is jumping out of the way, jumping on a car or something. That's just something the gameplay needs in order to feel a bit more fluent, and Adamantium Skeleton is quite important for that situation. And just to save you some syntax. And Fireproof, rank 3, rank 2, more than enough. We can survive pretty much everything, I guess. I mean, if shit really hits the fan and we're sitting next to an exploding car while a Scorch Beast screams at us and the super mutant Suicider is going at us, that might be a little bit much, but I think in about 20 hours playing this character, I never once died to an explosion. So rank 2 of Fireproof is enough in my opinion here. Charisma, Lone Wanderer, very important here since we are relatively squishy. Less damage is nice, but also the AP refresh is very important for us. After all, we're relying heavily on Grim Reaper's Sprint to give us our AP back, but when we're fighting bosses, well, I wouldn't really fight bosses with this character, but when we're fighting higher tier enemies, having AP refresh is just necessary. It makes everything much more fluent and nicer. And we have another point here in Tenderizer. Now, I would go higher with this, but I will explain that in a second. Now we're really getting to it, and that is with Intelligence. Now, First Aid, this is important. As I said earlier, we do use quite a lot of Stimpaks to keep ourselves alive, so making them more efficient is just something that's, over the long term, going to help you sustain Stimpaks. Stimpaks aren't really hard to get, but this is one of the builds where if you're not using First Aid, you will probably run out of them or find it hard to maintain a constant supply of them. So yeah, First Aid, really beneficial on this occasion. And ultimately what I would do if I had more level ups here is I would reduce my Intelligence to give to give 2 more points to Charisma in order to boost Tenderizer up to rank 3 to give us even a little bit more of an edge. And the last one I would have left, well, either use it for something in Intelligence, so you have a little bit of Intelligence going on, or move it to Strength or wherever you want. Another thing you could do is move it to Perception and max out Exterminator. But I have batteries included here in this situation because for the longest time this was a character using mainly energy weapons, so I do carry a whole lot of energy ammo, and I would just be over encumbered if I don't have that perk. I quickly stashed them in my stash box, which would have been fine, but since I'm not having the level ups available to switch that to another perk tree, and I don't really want to do that all that much because we do have punch card machines coming soon. Yeah, I just left it at that for the moment, but keep in mind those aren't the combat relevant perks, so I feel a little bit more freedom here to just explain what the changes would be, because ultimately this wouldn't do a lot to what you saw in the gameplay. I hope you understand what I'm talking about here. And now, lastly, we're getting into Agility and Luck. As you can see, both at 15, those are our centerpieces. Now, Perception very important, but arguably Agility and Luck are the most important perks here. In Agility, we have rank 2 of Action Boy, rank 3 of Master Gunslinger, Gunslinger, and Expert Gunslinger. Now, this can be controversial. Some people might say that you could use your damage, you could use your perk points otherwise and just go for rank 1 of each of them. But I found that with this weapon here, every little bit of damage helps, so I really wanted to get into it and use all 3 Gunslingers maxed out. Rank 2 Action Boy, as I explained with Lone Wanderer, more action point refresh, quite important here. And 1 rank of Gunfu, simply not because of the damage bonus, like it was quite nice, you saw it when I fought the Deathclaw, it worked out quite well. However, most importantly, it makes our gameplay more fluent. Now, you may prefer to manually re-enter VATS after killing an enemy. That's up to your preference. If you want to do that, just use rank 3 of Action Boy instead. But I found it quite nice, and it really helps you get into the Gunslinger feel. And lastly, we do have rank 3 of Adrenaline. Now, obviously, if we had higher ranks available, that would be nice, but yeah, that's what we had left over, and I feel like rank 3 of Adrenaline still gives you a little bit of a damage boost that's not to be underestimated, so yeah, I thought that this was the right decision here. If you have trouble maintaining your armor, which could be, well, White Knight would be a nice option, because after all, adrenaline is nothing granted, so yeah, you could live without it, but I preferred it here. And onto luck, we do have Bloody Mess, Grim Reaper Sprint, Psychopath, Better Criticals, Starch Genes, and Critical Savvy. Now, the important part first, Critical Savvy here, and Better Criticals. The combination is quite easy. As I explained during the video, Critical Savvy makes it so you're consuming less of your critical meter, meaning after you do a critical, you are at 45% already. If you have that and a weapon with 15% faster VETS crits and 23 luck, then you can refill your critical meter with a single shot. This doesn't always work. In theory, it works. The thing is, what I feel like it has to do with server latency or something, so it just doesn't register all the time. Sometimes it doesn't show that the critical meter is filled, but if you're having your finger on your triangle button or whatever button you use, depending on your console or PC, you're doing a crit anyway. So there might be some visuals going on, but from my testing, it should be enough, and I showed that in other videos, that, yeah, it refills your critical meter in a single shot. So that's all you need. Better criticals. Now, if we do if half of our shots are criticals, this is extremely beneficial. Even if only our third or fifth shot would be a critical, it's still a very good perk. I do like it. Now, there's some controversy going on saying that rank 1 is enough and everything else has diminishing returns. However, I don't feel like that is the case. Anyways, I do like to have it maxed out here. Starch Genes, pretty straightforward. Yeah, we want to keep our mutations that are quite important, and therefore Starch Genes is a must-have here. Psychopath rank 1. Well, the single thing is, I just said that within a single shot we can refill our critical meter. However, I still have to confirm that. First and foremost, we do want to have 15 luck in order to get our luck up to 13, 23 easier. So we had one perk left, which I used for Psychopath here, and I think that Psychopath has the hidden advantage of being able to refill your critical meter with the critical. So, you see, 4-leaf clover, for example, if you're using a critical on an enemy, a 4-leaf clover can't activate. It can only activate if your shot isn't a critical. However, since Psychopath, I think that if you're killing an enemy with a critical, only after you fired your critical, the enemy dies, and then Psychopath has a chance to roll. So I think that you're having a chance to shoot 2 criticals in a row. I'm pretty sure I've seen that happen quite a few times. So yeah, that's the hidden advantage of Psychopath in my opinion. I still have to verify that, so take that with a little bit of salt, but yeah, that's about it. And lastly here we do have Grim Reaper Sprint. Quite important for our build, especially if we're fighting ghouls and lower pests. It really makes it so we can stay in vets for most of the time and don't really rely on our AP refresh. But if it doesn't, we do have AP refresh, so that's about it. And now we're getting into legendary perks. First thing you see is we're using quite a lot for extra perks, legendary perks, legendary stats. Sorry. You probably already noticed that when we're looking through the perks, that yeah, there's quite a lot going on. So we do have 2 legendary agility, 1 legendary charisma, 2 legendary endurance, 2 legendary perception, and 3 legendary luck. So there's not a lot to talk about here. Basically, all they do is give me the ability to use all those perks that I've shown you, and obviously maxing those out, always a nice idea. The only special legendary perk we do have here is Far-Flung Fireworks, which gives you a 13% chance that enemies you're killing with your ranged weapon will explode. Well, we're using a ranged weapon, so this applies, and this is just a little bit of flavor. I ultimately don't think that it's all that great of a perk. I just do like it, like the visuals. It's quite satisfying if it happens, and yeah, that's about it. It's pretty generic, pretty simple. I don't really think that it adds a whole lot damage because it's quite rare that enemies are so closed up that the explosion of them will hurt others in their way. But yeah, I just like it because it's cool, and that's about it. Now, well, we talked till late in the night. No, we don't want to change our. Yeah, you see him here. He's a proud, happy little, especially sexy man, and that is where I wanted to go. As always, in the last few moments, I'm showing this here just so I have an easy little thumbnail. And yeah, I'm glad to be back after the break. I think it was quite nice. Now, this is the part of the video where if I have to talk about the channel, I do that. So, yeah, upcoming changes to the channel are now, first and foremost, the one you saw already. I really am happy finally recording a better quality. I hope you enjoyed it. But I will do some more content in the near future. I really want to get a bit more into cutting and such, and yeah, making more traditional YouTube videos in a way. I'm still going to stick with my build videos. I do still enjoy them. I ultimately am looking forward a lot to the to the perk loaders. That will help a lot. Now, after all, I still have to unlock the mods, the perks themselves that I script over time to get legendary perks. However, the simple fact that I can, without any level ups, just switch my stats, my special stats around. That's going to be very beneficial. That's going to, on average, I guess, spare me about 10 level ups, probably 5 to 10 level ups, which once you're getting into the higher realms is a lot. Now, arguably, you can even level up quite fast if you're level 400 and such, but if you have the right build for it. Now, this counter works a little bit with what I'm doing here because I just don't always want to do high intelligence, low health builds. Obviously, that's pretty much the whole point of the channel. So yeah, leveling up gets harder and harder. Looking forward to that help. And yeah, the other YouTube content I'm going to make, which I mentioned, is just general discussion videos. Now, I do have some topics in my head, favorite weapons, most disappointing weapons, favorite locations and such, so nothing out of the ordinary here. I do have one or two ideas that I think are quite interesting though, and yeah, if you have some ideas you want to see me talk about or something, feel free to comment that. I'd be glad to hear your opinions. I can't promise when I'm going to get there, but yeah, it's my basic idea at the moment is to just record some gameplay that I'll let run in the background and yeah, talk for like 30 minutes or something. It will be great. You will all have a lot of fun because ultimately you're already listening to me for half an hour without any good reasons. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Anyways, sorry again if I was a little bit distracted or something, but yeah, doing no video for 2 weeks really put me out a little bit. But yeah, I'm glad I'm back. So anyways, hope you enjoyed it. See you next time, guys, and bye bye.